All right, Steeler fans, it's time for Behind Enemy Lines. You know what we do every single week. We get you ready for the upcoming game, Week 16, Pittsburgh at M&T Bank Stadium against the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, the Call podcast guys are going to be here. Brandon is stuck in traffic, I believe. But we got Josh. He's here. Josh Murr, what's up, Josh? How's it going?
Jeff, thanks for having me. Yes, unfortunately, we're not going to have Brandon with us flying solo here with the call, but I can't wait to unpack this one with you, man. This is another installment. Ravens Steelers Saturday night before Christmas, and man, what a doozy we have on the docket.
It is going to be a good one, 4:30 p.m. kickoff. Are you going to be in attendance? Are you going? It's an expensive ticket, by the way.
Not as well. It is expensive, but I got the season ticket, so I pay
Okay.
face value. I elude all those fees and the overpricing. But no, you're right. It's apart from the Philly. We thought the Philly and the Ravens game was expensive. This one's the hottest ticket in the NFL this year. Even Ravens Commanders back early this season, they were going for uppers were going for like 800 to 1,000 a pop just for that matchup with the excitement of Jaden Daniels and what the Commanders are doing this year. So yeah, hot ticket, must see TV. I will tell you this before we unpack this. What's unique about this schedule coming up on the holiday season here is what they're calling it the holiday remix. How unique is it that the Chiefs Texans play earlier in the day, Ravens Steelers play later on 4:30, and then they basically just trade opponents on Christmas days later? Like, how awesome and weird is that at the same time?
They had to do that with playing on a Wednesday, trying to make that function, to make it fair. You had to do that. So I actually give the NFL credit. If you're going to do this, if you're going to sabotage the NBA on Christmas, which I'm all about, that's fine. Take it over. The NFL takes over everything anyways. They had to do it. So I understand where they're coming from, but man, this game, 4:30, we were talking before we hit record. This has a lot of magnitude with it. And it's got that feeling. It's Baltimore, Pittsburgh always has that feeling. Earlier this season, it had that feeling, but it gets ramped up when Pittsburgh could clinch the division on the road. It could happen. It could happen.
I know it's a reality. I'm just saying no, because I don't want to accept that. And I want the Ravens to put their best effort forward, not to have that happen. We've had our letdowns here in Baltimore recently, and especially at home. You think about the home opener, Raiders, all the way in week 2. You think about the most recent home game against Philly, right? Ravens outplayed them the whole time except on the scoreboard. So it's just like, it's been a bad taste as of lately. And I was talking to some of my friends who are season ticket holders, and we're like, why do we always feel like we leave the stadium in a bad mood or not excited? So I'm like, and this is another unprecedented game coming up here, man. I mean, I don't know how the stakes couldn't be that much higher. I don't know how else you can slice it. The division's on the line. It's very simple. Ravens win. They're tied with the Steelers record-wise, and with 2 games to play, the AFC North's in the balance. And Steelers victory, they somehow take it this year. And I remember talking to you back when the season started, right? About the quarterbacks and about the outlook of the Steelers. Obviously how it started with Justin Fields. Now look at it with Russell Wilson under center. So there was a lot of question marks surrounding the Steelers this year of I don't know. I'm going to ask you point blank. Do you think the Steelers met the expectations or exceeded them?
Oh, exceeded them by far. I was someone that said that if I were to give a range, everyone's asking me, family, friends, podcast people that listen, they would say, Jeff, where do you see them finishing? And I said, I think they're going to be a double-digit win team. They're already there. I said the ceiling would be the best of the best is a 13-win team. If everything goes their way. It hasn't. Not everything's gone their way. So I don't think that's feasible. They have 3 games left. They'd have to sweep them all. That's going to be tough. The schedule is tough. I said, but yeah, I said the floor was 9 wins. And so they've already exceeded the floor. So I think they're right in that range. If they end up with 11, 12 wins, I would say most Steeler fans are going to say, yeah, that exceeds expectations. That exceeds, Baltimore's won so many regular season games, whereas the Steelers, this is kind of uncharted water for Pittsburgh since Ben Roethlisberger's time. The fact that they've already clinched a playoff spot heading into week 16. Normally, they're ones that are hoping and praying for things to happen in week 18 or week 17 before they went to 17 games. This team's got to lose. This team's got to lose. We got to win. That's not the case this year. They've already clinched their spot, but this is going to be interesting. I want to ask you a question, and this is about the defense. So Zach Orr, who's the defensive coordinator, has been much maligned at times by the Ravens fan base. And then they bring in help. Now, since and correct me, who is the help? I'm drawing a blank on the coach
Dean
that they
Pease.
brought. Dean Pease, yes.
Dean Pease, yes.
How has that changed things when he came back and has started to put his fingerprints on the defense once again?
Well, it certainly changed things for the better. He probably put his fingerprints on some things, right? He has the consulting role. He's helping Zach with that experience that Dean has. He was once a defensive coordinator, not only in the league, but here in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Now, different personnel, but he's familiar with the franchise, familiar with the head coaching ranks, right? And John Harbaugh used to be under him. So now who better? And I actually like it. And I will even do you one step better. And I'll give a shout out to one of my best friends, Mike. My best friend, Mike, one of my best friends. He's been vocal all season to say, you don't think that Dean Pease might be secretly running this defense behind the scenes, even though Zach Orr's the DC. Is Dean Pease behind? It's like kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Is behind the curtain, like calling the plays. Like, so I have to give credit on Mike on that one because he's always caused me to think about that. And you're like, you have to now really think about that right now that we're talking about it. And the defense has turned it around. You know, we were talking this past few weeks. The defense is now, you know, if you take weeks from for 10, they were in like the last like 2 or 3 categories in the league defensively, right? Now, if you take weeks 11 through 14, it's a totally different defense. Now, unfortunately, the offense decides to disappear. It's like you fix one problem. It's like the what you call it, the pipe, right? Like you fix a leak here and then it springs over here and you're trying to like patch it. But the Ravens played a get right game this past weekend, but it was the Giants, so take it for what it's worth. But of all people what the Ravens are capable of, and the Ravens haven't really had much success against the Steelers as of late, so that comes into play, and that's pretty much been the talk of the week, right? Is the defense did its job in Pittsburgh already on the first round. Held you guys to 6 field goals, but Ravens to their own demise couldn't even score. So it's kind of like if the Ravens would get out of their own way, they would have overcame that, especially with the blunders with Tucker. So, yeah, you have to give credit. And I think it all started with that game. It was kind of like a get right game for the Ravens, they allowed 0 offensive touchdowns, especially against your hated division rival on the road. That was a surprise that they allowed no big plays to Pickens and Russell Wilson with his moonball.
You brought up Justin Tucker. I wanted to bring him up. Man, what is going on with Justin Tucker? I mean, he missed 2 in Pittsburgh. I've watched a lot of Ravens football games when they're playing and the Steelers aren't. What is going on? Like, is this just father time catching up with him, or is there something wrong? Is he hurt? Like, that's what it felt like to me from afar. Like, there's an injury there that's not being reported. But what are you hearing?
I'm hearing none of the injury talk. I'm just hearing that it's whole mechanical or like a technique issue. That's the words that I've been hearing around town. It's technique or it's approach. And I'm like, but how is it just night and day for a once reliable kicker to just fall off the map? And there's some jokes out there, right? People are pointing to the Chiefs kind of voodoo magic that remember when they messed with him in the pregame of the title game? He hasn't been right since. It's kind of like, did that like mess up his mojo of like doing the pregame rituals that he does? I don't know, but it's something because, I'm going to share this with you because no one really knows this. So I have season tickets. I was at the Philly game a couple weeks ago with the Ravens and Eagles, and I'm standing out there on the concourse near the end of the game, and I'm just shaking my head, and I'm like, and I said out loud, I'm like, what is the deal, man? Tucker, he just used to make those, and the Eagles fan walked right by me, goes, welcome to normal. This is normal kicking in the NFL, and you guys aren't used to it. And I'm like, wow. Like, and you're right. Look across the league, apart from Boswell's. Boswell, I have to give credit. What amazing year. Kind of Boswell's gotten Tucker's powers. It's kind of like Boswell's automatic, and Tucker's kind of like missing everything, and you don't expect that. And it's a real frustrating topic here in Baltimore on our side because no one has an answer. And then what's frustrating is coaches say, oh, he's working on it. But I'm like, it's the later weeks of the season. It's December football, and he's still missing kicks. Like he missed, 7 points against Philly, and that lost us the game because obviously the Ravens ultimately lost by 5. Makes 1 kick in Pittsburgh. That's a loss for you guys. So something's up. And usually the statistics go against the Ravens when Tucker misses a field goal, let alone an extra point. That's always a bad omen for the Ravens every time. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but apart from technique, and I hear he's working on it, let's hope. But look, he was 5 for 5 and perfect extra points. The Ravens didn't allow him to get an opportunity to kick a field goal. They just scored touchdowns all day. But coming off a bye week, I don't know if you saw him, but he was being kind of made fun of, sort of, in light fun in the media, where like he looked like the mad scientist, right? Like he was like being interviewed and his hair's all messed up and he's all like wide eyed, like, he looked like he haven't slept for days, but hey, he's in the lab and he was in the lab working. So let's hope Tucker can get it right. But it's for the success of the team, you want to score touchdowns and what this offense can bring, but with Tucker not be able to make it, it's a real bad thing to not rely on your once reliable kicker. And you're questioning as fans, like, I don't want him out there for a game winner. I don't want him out there for a game tying field goal. I'm going to be nervous as heck, man. Like, I'm going to be like, not be able to watch. Like, it's not automatic anymore. And, and if you have a day where your offense can't score points and you're in field goal range, what does that look like? So, and you guys, look, even reaching back 24 years ago, when the Ravens in 2000 didn't score a touchdown for 21 quarters and had to rely on Matt Stover, an automatic Matt Stover, in making field goals to win, some games in that stretch. But you can't rely on your kicker always. So I'm sure from the delight of Steeler fans, you love to see it, right? It's like, I got struggles, but it's just something that you're not used to. And when it's just that quick, no one has an answer. But it's just something, it's something in the water, man, and it's got to get corrected.
Well, I do want to ask about, because in Pittsburgh, I'm sure you are aware of this, the big news is who's playing and who isn't. TJ Watt's dealing with an ankle injury. He has returned to practice. George Pickens, Deshaun Elliott, three really big and very important pieces of the Steelers puzzle on offense and defense. How about the Ravens? What's their health look like? You mentioned that they just came off the bye week prior to their win over the Giants on the road. Are they a healthy team or are they dealing with some stuff?
No, very healthy team right now, Jeff. When they come off the bye week, as we know, they had some ailments. Bateman was on the injury report prior to that. Mike Pierce, Kyle Van Noy, they all played this past Sunday against the Giants. And as you know, Bateman had a huge impact with 2 touchdowns, his first multi-touchdown game of his career. Very huge impact for the Ravens. Kyle Van Noy's presence was felt with a sack. And Mike Pierce, the big guy, run stopper up the middle. So, knock on wood right now, Jeff, the Ravens have a relatively clean bill of health heading this late in the season. The inactives were like, I think there was only like 2 or 3 inactives, and I think Keith Mitchell was a part of that. He was activated earlier this year coming off the injury that he suffered late last year. But no big major injuries, no big major names coming off the report on the injury front as far as concerned. And I'm excited about that because the health of the football team is usually, a testament to how the success is, right? Like the healthiest in the football team that's late in the year, usually it makes its way towards the playoffs and makes some noise. So, Ravens, have that injury bug prior. They always had that major injury. You think about, even last year, right? J.K. Dobbins went down the first game. It's always something around here. Like, your big star getting hurt, but right now, I'm going to knock again. Ravens have avoided the big old IR spot with some big names on there. And it's good to see everybody. Good to see Mark Andrews return to his form this year. And everybody's contributing, which is great. It's very well. And you guys got your own injuries to deal with. I know Pickens wasn't out there this past week. You guys got away with that this past weekend. We'll see when he comes back. So what's happening around Steelers front on that injury? Are you expecting Pickens? And I know Watt was out there. What's the latest on Pickens and Watt?
I would bet right now, barring a setback, that TJ Watt plays.
Oh, wow.
And it might be sparingly. So you might see more Nick Herbig and Alex Highsmith than Watt, but I think they're going to put him out there in obvious passing situations and things like that. And they have the depth to do that if they want. Pickens, I'm not so sure. Same with Elliott. Hamstrings are tough, man. Right when you think that you're good, and anyone that's pulled a hamstring knows this, right when you think you're good and you're healed, you take that one step, and now all of a sudden you're looking at 4 weeks off. And I think the Steelers have to be really cautious. because they do have to worry about the playoffs. They're already in the playoffs. Yes, they want to win the division and they want to host a playoff game, but you have to be cautious. You can't have them come back. And Mike Tomlin has said over and over and over again, when he's healthy, he'll play. They're not going to hold him out or rush him back just because of a specific opponent. Now, if it was a playoff game, I think they all play, but it's not.
But you have to look at the other side of things, right? They play mere days later beyond that. So, yes, this is an important game for you guys, right? Big divisional game, opportunity to take the division on your enemy's home turf, right? And sweep us once again. Ugh, can't believe that. So, yeah. But if you're thinking about long term, like if you're Tomlin, you kind of look past that, and obviously you guys got a big opponent on Christmas, as you have the defending two-time Kansas City Chiefs, who are also playing on Saturday, as we talked about earlier. So and they have their own injury problems. Mahomes apparently somehow is superhuman. He's been practicing full on that high ankle sprain. So I don't even know how it's possible, but let's not talk about the Chiefs. But yeah, you guys got to turn around and play them. So would Tomlin be pressed to give Watt, and maybe if Pickens even sniffs the field, give them a snap count, knowing that the Chiefs are on the other side of that mere days later?
I think with TJ, if he does play, I think he is on that snap count, and you're trying to maximize his reps. So again, if it's a 3rd and 12 and Lamar's back there, you're going to put TJ out there. Go make a play. Go wreck the play. He does that all the time against Baltimore. That's when you would utilize him. But if it's a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and then again, some gamesmanship on Baltimore's behalf, if they see TJ's out there and he's not 100%, you run tempo so they can't substitute. You keep him out there. He can't sub off. If he does, you're going to catch him either with one less player or they're going to have too many players on the field. There is some gamesmanship in this, and we'll see how it goes. But I want to ask you one last question before I call it. As of right now, the line is anywhere between 5.5 and 6 points in Ravens' favor. So they're spotting the Steelers' points. These games are always so close. It's always within a score. What's your gut reaction? I don't need a score prediction, but what's your gut reaction on how this is going to play out?
It's going to be closer than that. I mean, the Ravens were favored by 3 on the road the first time around. And I'm actually surprised that the spread is that high. I've been monitoring that all week, and I'm very, very shocked at that. It could always change right up until around kickoff, but given that it's more than 3 but less than 7 right now, it's a little generous. Maybe more so that they're already giving the Ravens. You usually give the opponent 3 points, right? It's usually 2.5 to 3 points if you're the favorite, whether it's home or away. And I think with the Ravens' ability to what they just did on last Sunday. Lamar Jackson coming off of 5 touchdowns, are really healthy. The offense is now clicking. They're coming off their latest game. Steelers, we just talked about their injuries, and then they came out flat and played flat against the Eagles. So it's kind of like maybe it's a tale of everything and all that swirling. I don't know what goes into that, but you think about the formula. I think they're just giving it too much credit with this rivalry with these teams. It's going to be less than that. Go back and how many times has it been 1-score game, let alone less than 7? It's always a 1-score game with these guys. And I really have to look on my computer or on my phone to look up when the last time one of these matchups was a blowout.
It's been a while.
I mean, it was a 2-point win last time, for goodness sake. 2 points. It was 16-18, wasn't it? Or something like that?
That was the final score.
Yeah. So it's just, come on. If and look, I'm not a betting expert, but look, I would definitely want it lower. So it'd almost be like I wouldn't even want to touch that. I just don't think the Ravens would be by more than 1 score. And if they do, it might be 7, it could be 6. But no, I expect the Ravens to really put their best showing forward. And what's interesting about this matchup, I don't care what the previous success has been. And Lamar's 1-4 against Pittsburgh, and there's this kryptonite. What was brought up this week, and it gave me that moment? They said Lamar in his career has not played a home game in front of his home fans against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I went, come again? Really? Tell me that again. Run it back. And I was like, and there was like, Lamar Jackson has not started a game in front of a full packed stadium in M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Because it was either the COVID year, which we had that weird year and there was no fans, or either he was hurt or the Ravens had everything locked up. And remember, so usually we played each other at the end of the season, and the Ravens sat players in the last few years because they already had everything locked up. So that is an interesting take. So that's
Yeah.
going to be an X factor. Lamar's got the home crowd behind him this time, and he's playing in front of that. So it could be, is he going to be wound up or is he going to be relaxed and poised? Lamar, who knows? But I look for him to be the X factor. He's got to get together against this team, and I don't know what it is, but Ravens have their number, man, and it's going to be another one for the installment in the books of the great rivalry, which is known as Ravens Steelers. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun. I hope you enjoy it, Josh. Make sure you check out these guys, the Cobb podcast. They're a part of Fans First Sports Network. When do y'all drop your podcasts every week?
Actually, we do several shows per week. We do an episode what's called a wake up call. We put that out, during the early morning hours during the week. And then we actually come out with our actual episodic podcast every Friday called the Purple Friday Preview. So look out for that dropping every Friday. So
Right.
We have, a few things there sprinkled out through the week to keep you nice and updated on all things Ravens.
Love it. Love it. Josh, thanks for your time, man. Enjoy it. Maybe we'll be talking soon in the playoffs. You never know.
Speaking of that, real quick, you might have qualified, but you haven't won a playoff game since 2016. So getting there's one thing. I know you're aware. I'm just saying. Win one. You got to win one, bud.
All right, man. See you later, Josh. Thank you.
Bud. Thanks.